What's up, guys? So this is just going to be a little bit of an intro here before I get into the racing videos. Um, Basically, this is going to be the new start to me trying to make YouTube videos. I've had the channel for a while, posted some iRacing here and there, but nothing major. But last weekend I had the distinct pleasure to finally get into SCCA Racing, not just as a crew, but as a driver. If you follow me on social media, you probably saw my Instagram and Facebook posts. But I am getting into Formula V racing as a driver. I spent last year crewing for the team that I drove for this past weekend, Formula Enginuity. Great group of people, awesome owner, Mark Richardson. Um, Guy's been around and in FP racing for far longer than I'm going to try to remember or count in terms of years. But he made the whole process super easy, super fun. Um, so yeah, so this next few weeks here, I'm gonna do my best to edit videos and make them entertaining and not just a video dump of track time. So bear with me while I learn how to actually edit videos and fit transitions in there and everything. And thanks for coming along for the ride.
So as we get going here, this is going to be session 1 on Friday. As you can see, I was first to the grid. There was only 3 cars, three actual students in my group here. So you'll see when we roll out, there will be me, and then there will be a Formula Ford that I don't remember if he passes me early on or not, and then later on in the session there's a Spec Racer Ford that goes out as well with us. So if you've never been, this is Blackhawk Farms rolling down off of false grid onto pit lane. Car is kind of tricky to shift. When we're actually racing, we only use third and fourth, but rolling down pit lane, we usually use first and second. I screwed up, had it in third gear rolling down pit lane, so when I get rolling here, it's going to be really slow to ramp up speed, and also, of course, being first time out on track, being very cautious, making sure I'm staying to the right of that yellow line there. They will very much so ding you if you cross that line before it ends, and they repeated that to us many times over the course of the school. So with that being said, I am gonna kind of let this go and get settled in here and enjoy this first portion of the session, and I'll check back in later on. So as we're coming through the lap here, you'll notice at pretty much all of the corners, I think every corner, there's a cone right at the apex where in an ideal world they want us aiming to apex. Obviously different cars are going to drive differently, and apex differently. The V being a pretty low powered car and low speed. I don't think I ever actually tick over 100 miles an hour on this track. I could be wrong. I don't actually have a speedo in the car. I do have an aim dash on the steering wheel. You can kind of see it there with the green lights. That tells me my lap times. But I don't have a speedo. I don't have anything else. I have a tack that tells me RPM, and then I have oil pressure. And then I have a big red light that tells me if I have no oil pressure. But other than that, it's pretty bare bones. There is a brake bias adjuster on the left-hand side there by my hand. You can see kind of a big orange dial. I didn't really have to mess with that or anything over the course of the weekend. Car was pretty well balanced. There was a small mechanical hurdle that we had to overcome that I'll touch on later in other videos. For the most part, this first session was really just, get used to the track, get used to the car, get used to how it shifts. And just get into the flow of things here. So as we're coming around, you'll see here they just threw out double yellows, just kind of a simulated thing. Make sure we're paying attention to what's going on. No safety car rolled, but it was kind of interesting, of course, because we only have 3 cars on track. And while I do have a radio, I'm not hearing anything right now. Like, my dad's not telling me anything, my crew isn't telling me anything. I just see double yellows, so I immediately am backing it back down. I know I'm the first car out on track technically because Formula F never passed me to start out this session, so I know I'm first car on track technically. So I'm slowing down, waiting to get packed up as we're supposed to do, wondering if the safety car is going to roll, which, spoiler, it doesn't. But I'm doing my best to maintain a nice steady pace, show that I'm recognizing what's going on with the flags, and be mindful of where my flag stations are at here. So coming up here out of the final corner, we're rolling up to the start finish line here. We're gonna get the green flag again, go back to full racing speed. You can see me kind of scrubbing tires just a little bit here as I come down the front stretch. Dad's gonna be over on the right here in the pits with the radio. He's telling me green, 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 and I see the flag, so I'll get right back on throttle. I believe the Formula F was able to get back up on the rear bumper, if you will, of my car going into the screen. I don't remember. I can't see through the mirrors now, of course. But now we're back up, to full race pace. It was really just make sure that we're paying attention to our flag stations and that we're having that situational awareness to what's going on out on track. So you can see here, kind of struggling with the tires a little bit. We were running older, scuffed-in tires for the Friday sessions here for all 5 of our on-track sessions. You can see I'm getting blue flags. There's going to be a spec racer Ford here coming up that's going to overtake me coming through the next couple corners here. Blackhawk's an interesting track. There's not a whole lot of really great overtaking opportunities, both for same cars in class and also faster cars. So you can see here I'm pointing them by on the right side. It's a courtesy thing, but I was trying to be really, really proactive in point buys, especially going through certain corners, coming through there 4 and 5. Your natural racing line is going to be to track out pretty wide to corner exit curbing. In the V, you have a choice. You can either stay tight or you can track out. It's kind of up to what you want to do. But anytime I had a faster car come in and they caught me going through the carousel, turn 3, they typically would be pretty kind and just stay behind me as we come through that complex of corners, through the carousel, through 3A and B, and into 4, and then out of 5. And then as we come out of 5, I'd hug tight left, and I'd give them a point by, let them know that I see them and that I know they're going to be passing, and they would just go by on the right hand side just because they're naturally faster. So coming through here, just gonna be getting checkers for the session. In hindsight, I realized I missed giving a quick thank you wave to the corner workers here as I come through turn one. I was more focused on getting the car slowed down, getting the anchors dropped. Cool down lap, I pretty much just stay in third gear. So like I was saying earlier, in the race we only use third and fourth. First and second never get touched unless we're in the paddock or coming down pit lane. Even in safety car, we don't touch second gear. It's just too short. So if we're going really slow, we'll clutch the car, let it coast, and then when we come off a clutch, we'll give her a little bit of revs to kick it back up and keep her rolling for us. As I'm rolling here, you'll see me just adjust my helmet, kind of wiggle my hands, wave. It's very compact inside of the car, very tight fit. I'm not a big guy by any means, but I'm still a snug fit in the car. My knees are pretty much in the dash. I did test fit into the cars last year at runoffs when I was crewing, which really helped a lot in terms of just getting everything to line up and be where I needed it to be going into this weekend. So we had minimal updates to make. So yeah, so this is just kind of rolling through, coming across here. Here's the track crossing where you get into the track. Off to your left, here's where Sound's at. Another apex cone there. I think they all survived. I don't think any of them got hit. They do pull those later on in the day. Here's coming through the 6A corner station or flag station here right before this little bend in the track, and then coming around the last corner and bringing her back down into the pits, and that is it for session one.
Yeah, so first session done, in the books there. A lot of nerves taken care of, a lot of uncertainties that, you know, can I do it? Can I actually drive the car on a track at some reasonable level of speed? Obviously, not the fastest guy out there. We had an SRF and an FF with me, but also just not the fastest V. Like I said, we were running on scuff tires, and unbeknownst to me or us at the time, we already had a crack in the exhaust header starting to form on one of the cylinders. Nothing major, wasn't horrible, but definitely throwing off our air fuel ratio. A couple horsepower loss. In a V, you don't have a lot to begin with. They're only about 50 to 60, depending on the engine. Um, so if you're losing a couple horsepower from an exhaust leak, that is a lot. But also just first time driving on the track, first time actually being in a race car on a racetrack. It's not my car. Yes, I crewed for it last year. I know a lot of its intricacies in terms of taking the body on and off, getting the front cowling on and off, the nose cone, all that stuff. Just that stuff, I'm very familiar with. I mean, I worked on this car quite a bit, especially at runoffs last year. All the way from working on the wiring to the engine to just I know the car from that respect, but I don't know how it drives. I don't know what it's going to do. I don't know how it's going to react. So the first session was very much just get used to it, get my rhythm, get the feel for it. And then second session was okay, we're going to start pushing, and that'll be coming out here in a couple days. Again, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. First time I've ever tried any editing. I literally downloaded DaVinci onto my computer specifically for this reason. um, I haven't ever used a GoPro before. I've never done any of this, so please bear with me. You'll notice in the video there's a little bit of a quick clip between video clips, which is just that's the way the GoPro chapters the videos, and I have not figured out how to stitch it together smoothly yet. So bear with me for that. It is the correct video. It is the correct chapters. But again, a learning process. So yeah, in the next few days and weeks here, there will be 4 more videos coming out for the school, and then another another video or two on Saturday for the practice starts, and then also for qualifying and race one, which spoiler did not go as smoothly as I would have liked. And then Sunday qualifying two, and race two, which went much smoother after we found a couple other things that we needed to work on. So, again, thanks for watching. I look forward to getting more videos, both as a crew and as a driver, and just building this out. I'll also be starting to do some more streaming, posting races from iRacing, stuff like that. So, again, thanks a bunch for watching. And this is just the start for myself, and then also for my other two buddies. We have a little bit of a team that we call ourselves. We got into sim racing together. We grew up kind of together. Me and one of my buddies did racing, and then his cousin got involved, and we started what we affectionately called "Loose Through the Kink" racing because we all grew up in Wisconsin. Road America's all has been our home track, and in our iRacing sessions and in real life racing with friends and family, there was a lot of stories of just kind of letting her hang out through the kink, getting a little bit of loose, getting a little bit of slideways, as they say. And so when we were doing our sim racing thing and starting out and looking for names, we came up with Loose Through the Kink. So I'm going to be looking to try to get some stickers made for that, and just kind of documenting our racing journey, if you will. It's me, obviously, Jake. And then we got Jacob Tom, who I grew up with in cycling, raced with him for forever. Knew him as quarter acre because he raced for half acre cycling, and as a junior, he was on the shorter side. He now works for AO Racing as their radio tech and has the nickname Garth. But he also has a vintage Miata interestingly enough, I should say not ironically, but interestingly enough, was his dad's at one point. So he doesn't get to race that as much as he would like to. He has gotten out and gotten a couple races in. Hopefully he'll get one in this year and I'll actually be able to make it. But he does that for racing. And then Nick Vodder, his cousin, actually bought my go-kart that I bought to try and get into go-kart racing because it was too small for me. It was a weird Burrell chassis that was in between a um, junior cart and a full size cart, and it didn't quite fit me, but it fits him because he's a little bit on the shorter side than I am. So he bought that off of me and has been taking it out and running that. He hasn't done any races yet, but the weekend that I was racing, excuse me, he was up doing his first on track session up at the Briggs and Stratton Kartplex at Road America. In that cart, now that he's got it up and running with a Briggs 206 engine, took the old Yamaha two-stroke off and put a Briggs on it and took it out and ran it. Not without his own first run hurdles and heartaches in terms of mechanical stuff, but got it going, got it all lined out, and got it back up and running again. Had some chain issues with it jumping off of the sprockets. But yeah, so continue to look for more content from myself, hopefully from Jacob, and then also from Nick. Hopefully getting some content from him and getting that posted up, kind of on this channel and eventually a team channel for us as we look to build out our racing careers. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching. If you are more experienced at editing videos, feel free to drop me some tips. Be nice in the comments, please. Like I said, this is all new to me. This is something that I've been dreaming of and chasing for many years in terms of just getting in a car and racing. And then the video side of it is just me kind of really jumping in on the deep end in terms of comfort and putting myself out there and trying to make a platform for myself. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.